Hello and welcome to this podcast. Apologies for the voice being so deep and husky this morning. I've just woken up. I sound like a fucking drag queen. Apologies. When I get a need and a feeling that kind of comes through, just like my art, I'll give you a tip, a bit of advice, really strong advice. When a feeling comes through, when an impulse comes through, and there's a wave of energy, ride the wave. Yeah. Too often things come through and we just go, oh, no, I'll do it later. No. I always like the line, there is no tomorrow. I think that there's some truth in that. There is no tomorrow. And when something comes, just do it, And that's also what I wanted to talk about today in this astrological chat. If you haven't seen my other videos of me showing my skill set as an astrologer, unpacking charts, you can go back and have a look. I have looked at Elon Musk's chart. I've looked at Taylor Swift's chart. I've looked at Miss Alana Del Rey. I have also looked at Nelly Furtado's chart, and I recently, just yesterday, had a bit of a look at Andrew Tate's chart as well. So, yeah, if you'd like to book me for an astrological chart reading and report, please go to my website and just click on the links. And I do offer a 25-minute chart reading where I just go really hard and tear up your chart and explain it all to you. This is an MP3 recorded link that you get to keep, or I do offer a 45-minute reading. Please note that I am booked up a lot and it is a bit of a wait. As soon as you put your order in, the sooner I can fucking get to it and sink my teeth into it like a vampire. So yeah, that being said, I wanted to jump on this morning and I just had this inkling within me same with being an artist, when it hits, it's like it could be very late in the morning, very early in the morning. It comes whenever it comes. Usually my brain is best in the morning. So I keep things that are of distraction away from me. So no phones, no stupid conversations with people that annoy me. I do everything I can to avoid the daily world of a human. So that to me kills me. So working in a 9-to-5 job, working as a wage slave, being in a grey pod, absolutely, I'd be hanging from a tree. I just can't do it. And I've done it before and it just sucked the life out of me. And so my idea of hell in my early 20s was working in some corporate job where I'm easily replaceable. And at any minute, someone can come and tap me on the shoulder and say, we don't have a place for you here anymore. Have a great life. Which does happen all the time. Happened to me a few times too. So I had to learn to be quick. I had to learn to go within. I had to learn to depend on self and find ways to support myself as a creative, which I'm sure a lot of you can appreciate if you are listening to my channel. One of the things I wanted to share with you today is in my chart, or in possibly your chart, you may have Sagittarius placements. Okay. And this is a tricky one, but I thought to myself, what could I share with people that they don't already know? And what can I share that comes from a place of real authenticity from within me? And of course, the best thing that we can share is who we are, because no one else outside of us can share that. That's why when we share stories, we're sharing knowledge. I think that humans are tribally hungry for knowledge, and stories is a way to pass down thoughts, knowledge, feelings, history, and a big part of us is hungry for that. I think I'm a tribalist and I'm a survivalist. So I think it was back in 2022, just at the end of a 2.5 year lockdown within Melbourne where I was living, that I was very, very interested in going into survivalist training. So I was going to audition for a TV show called Alone Australia, where people, a very select group of people that have been kind of very meticulously cast, go to a very remote part of Australia and are basically dropped off there for as long as they can hack it. And you have to kind of make your own food, you have to hunt, you have to make your own shelter, make your own fire, collect water. And of course, this type of primal reset is something that really applies to me, because it would really bring me back to homeostasis as a human. A lot of fire signs would appreciate that. And what could be a greater test than facing yourself with no extraneous variables around you whatsoever? You're out there, you have to do it. And wrestling with your demons. The only way out is through. So we're very, very lonely and isolating, but at the same time, it would really make you see yourself. And that's part of what I wanted to talk about today is, as a Sagittarius, as a triple Sag, right on the cusp of Scorpio, I'm all about authenticity. Whenever I see someone copying someone else or doing something that's trending, it feels so fucking inauthentic. It feels so phony. It's just repulsive. And I'm like, you have to have individualism within yourself, not just follow what's trending. So that being said, when it comes to planetary correlations, a lot of you don't know this, but all the different planets within the solar system all play a part within your personality, within your astrological DNA, your disposition. So I'm going to go over that here and give you a taste of how complex this can get. And it gets very complex, all right? So in your chart, the level of degree that you're in that sign or in that house, is an influence over you. So everyone's chart is very, very different. I don't usually come around charts that are the same, but I do come across quite a few charts that are very, very similar. And that's where you see all the types and patterns of humans. So when I'm looking at a chart, it's like looking at a matrix code. I'm understanding the psychology of a person on a very deep level, because I understand the planets, I understand the houses. So if you don't know, in astrology 101, let's keep it really, really simple. You can get a pen and write it down if you need to. It all starts with degrees. So the stronger or the higher the degree in the chart, the stronger the placement is in a person. And it goes up to about 29 degrees. So if something is over about 15, 16, 17 degrees in something, that's over half of a degree angle within that placement or chart. All right. If you meet someone and they've got like 0.02 degree in Mercury or in Pisces, that's a very weak degree within that placement. So in nature and in the universe, the strongest energy wins. All right. Whether it's positive or negative, the universe doesn't see positive or negative. Energy just goes where energy flows, and energy only goes where energy is directed. All right. So when in a chart, the degree symbols the projection of how strong it is in that house or sign. So planetary correlations are very real. Most people think of their sun sign. So they might be born in April and they think they're a Taurus. If your placements were very strong within your first house, which is your public house, then, and say, for example, you had like 25 degrees in Taurus, Well, that's a very strong outer world. That's your masculine external projection. So your sun sign is your external projection. It is your ego. It's your outward personality. Most humans operate from their sun sign because a lot of humans don't actually really have a level of self-reflection and self-discovery and self-curiosity to really understand who they really are. Most humans are so embedded in the matrix that critical thinking and self-reflection is just like so not on the menu. Okay, and you can see that when you go out in public. A lot of people, when you say hello, goodbye, or hello, how are you? And they say, I'm good, hi, that's as deep as it can go for a lot of people. All right, that's not boasting, that's not putting anyone down, that's just the reality of the world. And don't think that it's not, it is. Okay, and you know that. I know that, I see it every day. All right, remember, someone can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. Okay, someone can only love you as deeply as they love themselves. No one can give anything externally unless they understand it internally. People can fabricate things and fake things. Narcissists do this all the time because they live in their outer world, their external world, but the real work has to be done within. And that's what spirituality really is. It's mastery of self. All right? So your moon sign is your emotions, and that's the most private side to you. That's your inner world. That's the world where you're in your inner feminine. It's very receptive. The sun sign, on the other hand, is your masculine. It's your outer world. Your moon sign is the most private parts of you that you keep hidden. It's your inner world. It's your subconscious. Think of the moon card in the tarot. All right, it's what's behind the shadows at night. That's your moon energy. All right, it's really, for a lot of deep thinkers, your moon is who you really are. A lot of subconscious energy. But of course, when we look at the chart, it all is determined by the degrees of how much it's placed in there and what houses are influencing it. Because everything in the chart influences everything else in the chart. All right, so it's like a cake. It's like you've got eggs, you've got butter, you've got milk, you've got vanilla essence, you've got flour, a little bit of water. Everyone's measurements are slightly different, okay? Now your rising sign, your ascending sign, okay, when you see the rising or ASC or ACS, whichever, sometimes I see it spelled backwards, it doesn't matter. That was when you were born, when it's a placement of where the earth was in proportion to the cosmos, connected to the eastern horizon. And your rising sign is very prominent within your chart because it is the lens that you see the world through. So for example, it's the sign that you see the world through. So think of it this way, for some people that can't grasp that. If I gave you a pair of sunglasses and said, every time you put these glasses on, you're going to see the world through the lens of a Virgo. So it's how you see the world. All right. So it's seeing the world through a sign of how a sign would see it, because polarity is a normal, natural thing. All things are on different levels in the spiritual world. All things in the physical world are all on different levels. There are levels to everything, right? Not all humans are equal. It's just not possible, okay? And it never could be. We're all on different levels. In the spiritual world, there are different levels to angels. There's different levels to the demonic world. It all has different levels, right up to the CEO kind of thing, all right? So the lens that you see the world through is your rising sign, okay? Very powerful, very prominent. When we have double ups on signs, that is only an enhancement of that double up. So if it was triple Sagittarius, that's a lot of Sagittarius energy, all right? Sometimes I will look at a chart and maybe I'll just see their sun sign is in Pisces and everything else might be in Capricorn. Well, then, I would really see that the energy shift would be sitting more in Capricorn. Okay. All right. So Pluto in your chart, when you look up your chart and you see you've got a sign that's in Pluto, that's the transformation that you're going to get. Pluto is Scorpion energy, it's scorpionic, so it's about death and rebirth. So, for example, you had a sign in your chart, your placements were sitting in, say, Sagittarius in Pluto. That means that your transformation will come through expansion of the mind. Okay? If it's in Mercury, as we know, mercurial energy is communication, it's mental energy, it's thoughts. Mercury represents how you learn, how you process things. People learn differently. There's visual learners, there's people that just need lots and lots of data downloaded into their brain. All right, so how each one of these factions influences your being. All right, Saturn is about restrictions. Saturn is about structure. Saturn is about trials and tribulations. So when you look at what sign that's sitting in, it will show you in conjunction with Saturn. Jupiter is where you expand. That is the sign of the Sagittarian. So where your mind expands, where your imagination expands, where your life expands. Mars is your passion and it's your zest for life. It's Vata energy. So it's like where your motivation comes from is Mars. Mars is very prevalent in a lot of people's charts. All right. Usually we see Mars as a very strong factor because it brings motivation. So when we look at these planets in conjunct with a sign, if it was, for example, Pisces, then and say your Mars was in Pisces, that's a very elusive, imaginative, dreamy kind of place that you're coming from into the world. If it was in Sagittarius, like me, it would be about higher learning and knowledge of the occult and the universe and spiritual systems and searching for truth. Mars deals in absolutes. So for a Sagittarius, the centaur is the only sign that is armed with a weapon. Okay, so the Sagittarius is like the executioner. Venus is how you love. That's beauty and abundance. That's artistry. It's attraction, money. That is Venus. How you relate to other people. How do you love? Do you love in the mind? Do you love in the dick? Yeah, what you're attracted to. So for example, if your Venus was sitting in Libra, well then that's a double whammy because Libra is ruled by Venus. So you'd be attracted to kind of beauty and pretty faces, symmetrical faces with dimples, pretty boys. Okay. If it's Neptune is about creativity and it's about psychic energy, spiritual energy, dreams and fantasy is Neptune. Okay. So a lot of psychic placement happens within Neptune. If someone's got a very strong degree in Neptune, chances are they're very intuitive. But potentially they could be a mystic. Okay. Uranus is about rebellion. Think of Aquarius. It's a very, very strong free will. Doesn't like to be told what to do. All right. So that's also connected to expansion through technology as we move into the AI, which is the Antichrist, just if you don't know. But yes, we are moving in right now into the age of Aquarius, which is the age of merging technology, higher learning and communication. Yeah. Chiron, if you don't know Chiron is about your wounds. What do you need to heal in this life? Okay, what's the themes that you need to heal? Because with past lives and future lives, they're all connected in a soup. I know it's hard to hear, but time, space, and energy and past and future are all kind of in a soup. It's all kind of things of predetermined and pre-happening. That's why a lot of people that are in religious faculties reject astrology, because they can't handle that you can access your own timeline and learn about yourself without going through God. And so I do get a lot of emails in from religious groups and things of that nature, because they get very angry and confused that people can understand and read this type of stuff, and they associate it with the demonic world. But in my defense, it's like, well, if God made me, then why did he give me this gift? Why am I born this way? You know, that's the thing. It's like being gay. I would never, ever, ever choose to be gay. I mean, who in their right mind would? But it's how I'm born. It's just how my brain works. I can't change it. So if I was created this way, you know, that's the thing. It's not just an urge, it's who I am. Same with my inner Sagittarius placements. I'm all about expansion. And sometimes with the religious faculties, what it can do, it limits the mind. It's like looking at the whole universe through the eye pin of a needle. You know, it's very, very limiting. All right. So I'm all for understanding Christ consciousness, and I absolutely, totally believe in that. But I can't enslave myself to something that is very limited in its own knowledge of self. I'm a triple Sagittarian, so I'm all about expansion of things in all ways, in all things. And if you haven't heard it, hear it from me right now. The bigger, the better. Okay, size matters. Okay, do you want to live in a tight little shoebox apartment, or do you want to live on a giant big acreage farm in a huge house with a swimming pool? Okay, Sagittarius knows what they want. They want the freedom. They want the space. All right. If it's even a small space, I get claustrophobic. Me getting on an airplane, absolutely hate it. Feels penned in. It feels trapped. I can't escape. I can't fill my lungs with air. If you're a Sag, I think you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so your north node is your potential, and your south node is connected to your karmic past. So karma works through multiple lives. So it's all about, a lot of the time, we can ascertain what your sign was in your last incarnation based on your chart. I can do that. Yes, it's possible. Because the universe works in polarity, you're part of God, or you're part of the Godhead, part of the universe's expansion. So the universe is expanding and destroying itself through you. So your experiences are adding to the consciousness of the universe, because you are the universe. So the quickest and best way to do that is for polarity to occur. So in past lives and future lives, in this life, you might be the oppressed daughter, and in the next life, you'll be the oppressor mother. It always works in polarity, all right? Your midheaven is suited to your career type, and what you bring into the world is sitting with your energy of what your interests are. Because with your rising sign, that's where your passion is, can be a lot where your passion is, depending on the placements, of course, with all of the other planets. But where your passion lies is where your purpose lies. So your midheaven will always be connected to your rising sign. If they're in what I would call a non-adjutant, they don't rub against each other, and they're both in the same house, that would be, or the same sign, that would be a person who just kind of intuitively knows what they want. They want to study fashion. They're doing fashion. When we see polarity in a chart and opposites, this always creates the most interesting people, because there's this kind of adjutant, there's a grain of sand in their chart that keeps rubbing, because it's opposite energies pulling in different directions within a human at one time. Say, for example, you have a Aquarius sun, and then you have a double Leo moon and rising. That is a very interesting person, because you've got this thing where it's all about service to the world and rejection of materiality in a lot of ways. And then you have all of this adjutant that's pulling, which is all service to self, which is all about me and how much money I get and what's in it for me in the Leo. So that's where we get people that are quite tormented or torn, and which path they choose really determines their character, all right? Your Lilith, or your black moon, also known as the dark moon, represents the shadow aspects of your personality that will be there throughout your life. So that's like hidden desires, the dark feminine, darker impulses that are considered taboo or unacceptable, dark sexual fantasies and lust, implosion of that nature. Okay, so sexual power. When we look at the chart, we know Lilith was like the first. It was said that Lilith, this does tie into Catholicism on this level, where when we go deeper into astrology, Lilith doesn't like being married. So if Lilith is in a chart and it's against the opposite of where your Venus is placed, that's going to create a problem in terms of like long-term sustainable marriages. Lilith doesn't like being married. It likes being single. It's very free. Okay, so I could go on and on and on. I could explain this way more, but you get what I mean. So I'm just sharing with you just a quick snapshot of when I'm looking at a chart, I'm looking at all of these factors and how they all interplay with each other, okay? As a Sagittarian, I just wanted to share with you, and I know a lot of Sagittarians follow this channel, is you really have a very restless energy. And at times we can be quite defensive. It's just this whole nomadic thing. With Jupiter, it's all about getting bigger. How do I get more knowledge? How do I grow bigger to meet my full potential? Sagittarians can be selfish because you have to eat energy, you have to consume energy to grow to meet your full potential. And so Sagittarius is excessive. It does consume a lot, and it travels and can expand very, very quickly. So it's all about expansion, all right? So if you want to have a relationship with a Sagittarius, you have to have a fucking mind. Sagittarius lives in the realm of the mind, okay? The realm of higher knowledge. And it can't just be like a Virgo or a Gemini can do, where they just information dumps. Sagittarius has to taste and experience life through all of the modalities of the human experience. When we come here, we go through love, we experience rejection, we experience hatred, we experience jealousy, we experience sadness and grief. All of these things happen in a human life to expand the human consciousness. So if you're controlling or if you're very structured, that will feel restrictive to the Sagittarius, and the Sagittarius will get depressed. All right. So if you can't, this is a very, very tricky sign to deal with because there's so many pitfalls. And once the horse in the Sag bolts, it's very, very difficult to get them back. Okay, so if you've shown that you're an untrustworthy person, or you have led them in a direction where you shift on them and you show a different side to your character that you didn't present at the start, much like Scorpio, they're not going to like that. Okay, so it's a really tricky one. Sagittarians suffer from the grass is always greener on the other side. But the truth of it is, as a Sag ages, they realize the grass is actually greener where they water the grass, where they nurture the grass. So, and it works against them, and it's very difficult because they have so many lovers and so many flings, and they're very direct. And a lot of them have a horrible, horrible temper. They're explosive. They can be quite impulsive. So it's like, this is a spicy energy. And the problem is a lot of Sagittarians really embody themselves and embed themselves very deeply in higher learning through religions or structures that they enforce on others. They can be like Darth Vader. They'll enforce things over others. All right. But yeah, in terms of chart placements, Sagittarius and Aries can work. Sagittarius and Leos can work. Sagittarius and Libra can work if the Libra is more passionate. But yeah, Sagittarius is really not overly compatible with a lot of signs. Jupiter energy will run your ass ragged. You know, they can go through things really quick. I can read a book very quick. You've got to have a level of movement to you. Otherwise, your being slow and methodical is going to frustrate the Sagittarian. Okay, they have to keep it moving. And so if there's no movement within their chart or within their life, the Sagittarius starts to rot from the inside. So the best thing to do with anyone when you're meeting or courting someone is show them the real you, not the version that you think that they want to see, not about you putting your best foot forward. You know, I mean, we all put our best foot forward when we're meeting someone, but when you can show them who you are, wounds and all, warts and all, this is the only place where we can build something that is real. So if you are not a monogamous person and you don't want monogamy and you like to kind of have your cake and eat it too and be logged on the apps and still fucking other people, tell the other person that. Show the other person that. Because the parts of you that you hide will be exposed in time. And this is a problem that is presented in life. And it doesn't just go for Sagittarius, it goes for all the signs. It's because if you don't show who you really are, and then later down the track, who you really are comes out, you've just wasted someone else's time. And they can't get that time back. All right. So that's what I value more than anything is my time. Because the only currency that a human really has is time. And we can't get that back. So if you know me, I'm more on that left-hand path and you come to me, well, how do you think that's going to go for you? Too bad for you. I don't have empathy and I don't care. All right. So sometimes people will do things to get revenge, or they'll do things to punish the other person for wasting their time, you know? And that's why on the left-hand path, or on the path, the fallen path as it's called, or the darker path, we have ways to exact revenge or to make things what I would call more fair. Sometimes I'm not going to wait around for karma and wait for the next life for them to be punished or whatever. I'm going to do it myself. And sometimes when we exact ourselves out into the world and we speak our truth and we live in our truth, this creates karmic balance on other people as well, because through them, they learn what they've done. Okay, that's why I'd rather be serious about life. And I like to be around people that take their life seriously, that take their health seriously. When people usually say, oh, it's all a bit of fun, don't take it too seriously, that is the mothership of red flags. They're doing that because they're playing down their interaction with you, because you're like a toy or a doll for them to play with. You're just a bit of fun for them to discard when they're done with. No. Okay, no, you're a human being. How they treat you matters. All right, so you've got to learn, hear it from me now, as a Sag, you have to stand up for yourself. If you don't speak your truth, you are not honoring yourself, right? So it's all about telling the truth. Because if you meet someone and they see who you really are without any makeup and you're in your pajamas kind of thing, then and they like you, then we've got something to work with here. But if they can't accept you on that level, then it's all a complete waste of time. All right? So that's just is what it is. Okay, I know that sounds hard to hear for some people, but a lot of people don't realize they actually don't have real relationships. They just have an arrangement. And to me, I mean, it's cowardly and it's just sad because it's not real. And you can't prolong something that isn't real. Okay, so Sagittarians are looking for the truth. What is the truth? And that can be very dangerous too. It's led me to a lot of different places looking for truth, higher knowledge, higher learning. It made me come to the occult. It made me start practicing certain things, then having levels of success and releasing energy into the world to shift something. You know, we're all doing that, whether you believe it or not. When you go out into the world and you see marketing, you see messages on the screen, on your phone right now, it's all manipulation on some level. Manipulation of the mind to produce an outcome. All right, I'm just upfront about it. It is. All right, so I hope that makes sense. But yes, as a Sag, it is difficult to, you know, they make very good friends, but they keep a distance from others. They need to feel free. It's all about freedom. So a lot of situationships and flings happen, but it's about them feeling the need to know that they can walk out the door and have the exit there at any moment. And when you say that's okay, well then now you've got a real relationship because they're going to come back because they want to. Okay? When it comes to controlling the mind or using some level of influence over the mind, I'm absolutely against it. And that's because you wouldn't want to keep someone that doesn't want to be with you. Yeah? You know, why would you want someone to be with you if it's forced? If you've done something to alter them or influence them in a different way that isn't real, it's not authentic. Okay, so I always say to people, if they don't want you, and as painful as that is, because I know I've been in love too. I know love. It's very, very painful when you want them and they don't want you in that way. It really hurts. This stuff really hurts. But I say, let them go. Because trying to get someone to stay when they don't want to be with you is like trying to get someone to eat dog shit. Okay? It is what it is. A lot of the time what happens is people are hypergamous and they think they can do better and they like to think they can play the field. But what happens often in life is they play you and then later they play the field and realize that you were the best option. They didn't have better options than you. And a lot of people try and come back years later and reach out and say, hey, how you doing? You know, send you the old Facebook request on Facey. Oh, hey, how's it going? You know, we should catch up. And it's like, no. If you treated me poorly then, why would I ever let you back in just because you played the field and you thought I was a better option now than what you had then? You've already shown me who you are. And a lot of people, it's sad because a lot of people have a sense of delusion about where they really are, and good people come through and they don't see the value in them. And they think they can do better and oftenly they can't. And it's a real, you know, karmic debt and karmic leveling in matters of the heart is a very painful thing to behold. So I will leave it here. This is a bit of a chat about astrology, a bit of a chat about the Sag, the need to escape, the horse, it needs to bolt, it needs to be free, it needs to roam, it needs to think, it needs space. Lots and lots and lots of space is needed for an evolved Sagittarian. Evolved Sagittarians never will be around tons of other people. The evolved Sag is like a horse that ran off into the forest away from all the other horses. It needs lots and lots of time to sit and reflect and think and create, and they value their time over anything else, their freedom over anything else. If you're rigid, if you're very set in your ways, like a really dark Virgo, very methodical, very myopic, fussing over little stupid shit, like the teaspoon in the drawer wasn't in the right way, that is repulsive to a Sagittarius. Okay, you're focusing on small, minute details when there's way, way bigger things in the world that are more significant and serious. So they want to go for the big stuff. Jupiter is big, bold, main character energy. If you are tired, if you are sleepy, if you're yawning all the time, if you're lethargic, the Sagittarius, you're worthless to the Sag. You have to have passion. You have to have determination, all right? They're not interested in carrying your ass, all right? You have to bring something of fire to the Sag to keep them around. Otherwise, they will cheat on you, they will leave you, and it's just like how it is. They value authenticity, and authenticity requires bravery. If you don't have the bravery, it's not an attractive thing. You just wallpaper and you're copying what everyone else is doing, and that's not what Sag does. There's a rebellion of the mundane in a Sagittarius. Even when I make art, I don't want it to, if it's not fantastic and it's not the level that I need it to be, then I shouldn't be doing it, and I won't even start. And I understand I can't do it that day, I'll go do something else. All right, so it's about bringing your fucking A game. Leos know what I'm talking about. Aries know the fuck I am talking about here. All right, it's about the real thing, passion. Right? Lots and lots of love. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Book me for a reading. You can find my links on my channel. Send in the emails, and I can't wait to speak to you and talk to you and create your videos and get into your chart and give you the breakdowns. Lots and lots of love. Bye. Bye.